The Henry Big Boy Revolver in .357 Magnum. Let's check it out. Henry's known for their lever action rifles, all the way from .22 long rifle up to .45-70, and they're just really good quality made firearms. All made in the USA, all the way down to the beautiful American wood stocks and spring screws, you name it. And they've really restored the love affair with lever action rifles in the US. But today we're going to take a look at the Henry Big Boy Revolver. It's in .357 Magnum. Of course, you can shoot .38s. It has a very retro type look to it, something you would see maybe in the early 20th century. And yet it's up to modern standards, and it'll take whatever powerhouse .357 loads you can bring to it, or you can jump down to the .38 Special for more mild shooting. This is a very unique type revolver, and we're going to take a look at a lot of its features. We're also going to compare it to some of the modern revolvers that are out on the market, and why you would want something that really just has that unique, traditional, classic look. This is definitely a Henry signature design. And we want to thank Henry for sending the Big Boy Revolver in .357 Magnum. I've been waiting for this for over a year, and I was really excited to get it, and after taking it to the range, it did not disappoint. The Henry Big Boy Revolver. This was, when it first came out, was a huge surprise. We were traveling to NRA in Indianapolis, and I just saw an Instagram post right before we got there where Henry had announced their revolver, and it honestly shocked me. In fact, when I got there, that was the first booth I went to. I had to check this out. And this is in .357 Magnum, has a 4-inch barrel, it's double single action. They make a couple of models. This is the standard gunfighter model with the square butt, but they also make the bird's head model, which is a little bit easier for concealed carry. And honestly, I like the way it looks, especially with this design. There's been a lot of controversy with this, mainly from a lot of people that think that this look, the vintage look, is out of place. To me, this fits Henry. If Henry came out with something just normal, a normal .357 revolver that looked like all the others, then Henry wouldn't do that. So this is really in the line of Henry Firearms. And so I think that this definitely gives it a very traditional, retro look to it. But it's made to modern standards. This will take your full house .357 Magnum loads, but then you can dial it down to .38 Special. So it gives you a couple of options. One thing too that Henry states behind the reason why they came out with this is to make it a cowboy companion. And one of the things in the Old West which was big is they carried their .45 long Colt in a revolver, and they had a .45 long Colt as a lever action rifle, and different calibers for that matter. But this is definitely a very retro looking handgun, and yet it's going to hold up to, you know, whatever pretty much you put through it, because it's a Henry, and Henry's built a huge reputation on quality. First thing, let's go ahead and press our cylinder forward, and that's how you release the cylinder. It spins very freely, and you can see it's unloaded. It's also 6 rounds. And then we have our ejector rod right here. Now, one thing that a lot of people notice immediately is that you have an exposed ejector rod. And most of your modern firearms that has a protected ejector rod. It's just a housing that comes through that's part of the barrel. This is, to me, very reminiscent of your old Colts, like your Police Positive, or some of those older guns that came out about in the 1920s, or at least in the first part of the 20th century. So it gives it this kind of vintage retro look, and yet it's built really strong. Beautiful walnut grips. They're smooth. This again is that square butt, but it also has a brass receiver, which is Henry. I mean, it's got Henry written all over it. And the trigger guard. So this whole area. With a Ruger Blackhawk, they have an aluminum grip module, even their trigger. So that's all aluminum, and then steel for the frame and the cylinder and the barrel. And so this is not something that's new or something that that we haven't seen. And obviously this is not taking a lot of the recoil. This is going to be mainly right here at your grip. Most of the power is going to be centered around this area right here. And so you want that to be steel and you want it to be strong. But here with the brass, I think it's a beautiful touch. Now, it may not appeal to you. It may be something that you're like, okay. And I love how this grip comes up high. So when I get my grip, I'm not hanging off an edge, and it gives me a little bit of some gripping surface there. Nice trigger guard, fairly enlarged. It is round, and I'm glad they didn't square off this little area back here to dig into my hand. But the bluing on this is beautiful, and we're just not seeing much bluing anymore because a lot of people are going to the more modern protective type coatings like Cerakote or some of the baked on Teflon finishes. Even Smith & Wesson has done that. This really gets back to a traditional blued look, which is what Henry likes to do. I mean, they put together some beautiful bluing on their firearms. And so again, this just matches with Henry. But it also gives us a different style revolver. And guys, honestly, I mean, a lot of guys now are not necessarily carrying revolvers for concealed carry. There are some. And hunting maybe, but this is not really set up as a hunting revolver. This is definitely something you take out to the range, something you might collect. If you have a lot of Henrys and you like Henry, this would be a perfect gun, to put in your safe. Now, one of the things about that is I love Henry, and I have a number of different Henry rifles, and this to me is perfect to fit with it. And if I'm going out in the field with my Henry, why not have something like this with 357 Magnum on my hip? And it's just a really nice combo, and I could take 357 Magnum, and then I would have common calibers for both. Now, one of the things about that exposed ejector rod is traditionally a lot of people have felt like this could get bent. This is a very strong rod for one thing, and it would take a heck of a lot of pressure to deform this at all. Now, there is a barrel cut right here, and so that just relieves that area so this ejector rod can fit up in there. But you'll see the cut, and then it just kind of fits up in there. Very nice lock up with your barrel. There's not much of a gap between there and the throat of the barrel. The finish on here, it's not like anything else that I've seen. Now again, we have that little bit of a bump here to protect my hand, and then as it comes up, we have some different type styling. It's not just rounded off. Now the sights, we have a notch at the back, and you have your trough, and then we have a front sight, and this has a very thin blade to it. And honestly, that helps with getting exceptional accuracy. If it was thicker, it'd be a little bit faster to catch, like in a gunfighter type sight. But this is going to give you really good accuracy up front. What's really cool is they have two additional sights. The one that's attached is a medium height, but they also offer a low and a high. And those are marked on the bottom of the sight. And so if you want to change this out, you can change the height of the sight. Now, why is that important? If you have 357 Magnums that have really high power, you're going to have an impact shift vertically with, let's say, 38 Special. And so whatever loads that you're really the most comfortable with, you can put the sight that you want on there, and then you can set your revolver to where you want to. And if you want to change it out, you can. Just gives us some options that, especially with a fixed sight type firearm, this allows you to be able to change, because the windage should be the same no matter what. But there are so many different 357 Magnum and 38 Special loads that this just gives you some options in a way not to have a holdover or to be able to shoot low, but it actually will help you to hone in on your target even faster. Of course, the cylinder is fluted which makes it really nice, and that's really a traditional look to it. It's a very smooth action to it. Now checking double action, smooth, but it's heavy. Now with single action, we can just pull the hammer back and lock it. We have a shorter trigger pull, and it's going to have less trigger pull weight. Really nice break. We're going to test the trigger pull weight in a couple of minutes. One thing about the grips, they're walnut, they're beautiful, they're smooth, but Henry does offer some other options if you want something different, which I thought was nice. And they also offer a number of different holsters, even though, from what I understand, this gun will fit into any of your GP100 holsters with a 4-inch barrel. Just one of those retro, I'm not going to say steampunk, but some could. You know, this just gives it a very traditional, classic look, again, with just modern features. It's not a knockoff from some of the older revolvers. It's definitely a design of its own. Here we have the Henry logo that's engraved into the grip. The actual model number is HO17GDM, and that's for gunfighter. The bird's head grip is HO17BDM. And you have your serial number right here above your trigger. And then we have the Henry logo engraved right here into the receiver. The engraving on the barrel, of course, is the caliber, and then on the other side we have Henry repeating arms. One thing I like about it is looking at it at a distance, it's very subdued. You don't really see the markings, and so it just gives it that clean look to it. But guys, overall, just sitting here looking at the revolver, it's definitely different. And to be honest, I like different. Now, two of the most popular .357 Magnum revolvers on the market, and has been for years, is the Smith & Wesson 686 and the Ruger GP100. These both have 4-inch barrels. I love these guns. These are beefy, they're strong. Honestly, they've been around for at least 35 years, and they're very popular handguns. When you compare these side by side, it really makes the Henry stand out as a very traditional looking handgun. It's just different. Now, the GP100 is different than the 686. It's really beefy, it's really strong. The 686 to me is a little more graceful. And then we have the Henry, which comes in at, again, just looking classical and more traditional. Maybe that's not appealing to you, but that is the market that they're going for. And I'll tell you guys, there's a lot of people out there that like this kind of design to it. And I'll tell you another thing about something that's different. When I go into a gun shop and I look at the revolver section, it's just like a big sea of revolvers. They all kind of pretty much look the same. Semi-automatics for sure, with polymer frame striker fires. It's just a big sea of black. It's nice to see someone come out with something that just goes to the beat of a different drum. And I think that's one of the things that I do like about this Henry. But then you have like this Kimber KDS-6 Target. I mean, this to me is one of the most beautiful .357 Magnums, and it's definitely the most beautiful that I own. Absolutely smooth. It's really a quality revolver, and I'll tell you, as far as just absolute beauty. And it's fairly small compared to your Ruger GP100. But this is just a great gun, and it looks different than these others. But I'm glad that Henry really took it to a step farther and made something that really just stands out. And it goes really well with a lever action rifle, especially a Henry. Weight on the Henry Big Boy Revolver, 35.33 ounces. Now we're going to check trigger pull action a little closer. This is your double action. We got the hammer in the down position. So as we pull it through, it's pretty constant as far as the trigger pull weight coming through, but again, it is fairly heavy. When it comes to single action, it's a nice break. I mean, there's not really any resistance. You feel like you're just there, and the pressure just releases the hammer. Let's check our trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge going double action. 9 pounds, 6.5 ounces. Single action, 4 pounds, 4.4 ounces. Big thanks to Fiocchi for sponsoring the ammunition. We have 38 Special and .357 Magnum, and we're going to be shooting some different ones. This all made in the USA, one of the biggest suppliers of ammunition in the country. And we're going to be shooting some different type ammunition, but we just want to get a feel for the revolver. And the .357 Magnum is pretty stout. Well, the Big Boy Revolver 357 Magnum is a big boy. I mean, they're bigger calibers, but you know, it's just a proven man stopper. Revolvers, slow to load, but they really can have a lot of power, and they're simple. So one of the beautiful things about this is you can throw 38 specials in here, which we're going to shoot first, and it's fairly mild recoil. And then that simple design, anyone can pick this up and shoot it. I mean, it's just decent, mild recoil. Now you're going to put some 357 Magnum in there. Just see a little bit of the difference. And we've been mixing this up quite a bit. There's definitely a lot more recoil with 357 Magnum. But that means there's more energy being pushed out. It just makes it more effective. But I'll tell you guys, we've been shooting this. I've put about 400 rounds through this, mixing it up, 357 Magnum and 38. And you know, the recoil is nice. This grip really tames the recoil. The bird's head grip will be a little bit different, but I'd like to try it out just to compare it. But also, you know, you can shoot this with one hand. And that's really the traditional way that handguns were shot originally. And not until modern self-defense handguns really came into vogue. One thing about shooting it one-handed, and shooting it weak-handed for that matter, is just good to learn. In case something happens to one of your hands, you're able to shoot it without, you know, trying to shoot it with two hands and not being used to it. And that's the big thing. So I try to shoot it with one hand, any of my handguns, especially for self-defense. But with these old revolvers, it's almost natural. We're going with 357 Magnum this time. Now we've been shooting it double action only. This time we're going to shoot it single action. Now we can take and just pull back on the hammer, but it's a far reach for me. So the best way to do it is to bring your support hand over, just pull that hammer back. Now you have a really short trigger pull. And while that's 6 shots, that's 6 shots of power. I'm not sure what speed loader might work with this, but that would really up the game some. But the big thing is, these are just beautiful, real traditional type revolvers, and they're just fun to take to the range. It's almost like a single action pistol and a double action combined, but yet you're getting all the advantages of the single action. And remember guys, when I'm using that single action, that is not the way you'll use that in a self-defense situation. So you want to make sure that you do shoot it double action and practice with it, because that's how you're going to shoot it. Overall, I mean, this has been just a great range companion, but it would be great on your hip with a 357 Magnum rifle, lever action, and Henry would really make this a complete set. Guys, you need to maintain your firearms, and Otis Technology, they make some of the best cleaning supplies out on the market. They are the official supplier to the U.S. military, and they were the ones to come out with the ripcord. And this is your bore snake, and Otis is the one that invented it. And that's part of Shooter's Choice, which is also owned by Otis, and we really appreciate their sponsorship. Great cleaning supplies. The retail price for the Henry Big Boy Revolver is $928. And guys, revolvers just cost more to produce. The Model 686 retails for $979. And the Ruger, very comparable. Most of these revolvers, because of the hand fitting and a lot of the things that go into putting these together, it's just part of the cost. And market price is typically less. What are some pros and cons? First off, it's just unique. There's nothing else like it on the market, not under current production. It does kind of give you that retro feel to it, and yet the modern design. 357 Magnum, 38 Special, those are tried and true. Beautiful brass grip and frame. I love it. And then, of course, with the modern steel frame that'll handle any 357 Magnum you want to put in it. All made in the USA. Grips are those beautiful American hardwood walnut grips. Having additional front sight choices, that's something you just don't see. And it just allows for you to give you some options when it comes to shooting. Exposed ejector rod. Some people would say that's a con. I think it just has a unique look to it. But again, that is going to be a con for some. And the brass receiver, for that matter. You know, it's got that really unusual look to it. And so it's either going to appeal to you or it isn't. But again, it is Henry quality, and Henry has proven itself for making really excellent firearms now since the 1990s. And really the reason why lever action rifles have remained at the forefront of American gun buyers, because they're just smooth, they're beautiful, and Henry has done a wonderful job. When it comes to this revolver, I'm looking forward possibly to seeing longer barrel lengths or shorter barrel lengths, and definitely we have the 22 and the 22 Magnum that's coming as well. In fact, it's listed right here on the owner's manual, so that's going to be really interesting. I'm pretty excited about that. I love small 22 little double action revolvers. They're just a lot of fun, and they're great for plinking, and they're great for small game. This could be used as a hunting option, or definitely on your side when you have your 357 Magnum out in the field. So it gives you a great companion. I love the blued finish on here. Takes it back to a kind of a bygone era. Trigger pull is exceptionally smooth, and there's just a lot of cool things about it. Definitely, I think the biggest complaint would be is it just looks different. And guys, that's not a bad thing. And you have your square butt choice for your gunfighter grip, or you've got the bird's head grip for better concealment, or honestly, I think it actually looks a little better. It just gives it a more of a retro look to it. But the big thing is, we live in the golden age of firearms, and this just gives us another choice. So the Henry Big Boy Revolver in 357 Magnum has that classic look, and yet it has all the modern features of a regular revolver. And it gives you that 357 Magnum power, but then you want to jump down to 38 Special to make it a little easier. You know, it gives you those options. And it goes perfectly with your lever action Henry rifle. So again, big thank you to Henry for sending their Big Boy Revolver in 357 Magnum. This is a classic right out of the box. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Oh, it's getting hot in here. Ejector rod with a brass receiver, brass frame. But there's one thing for sure. This is definitely a Hig. A Hig. But the lever action rifle's been around for a long. Once I've taken it down to the range, man, okay. That sounds goofy too, I'm just goofy. It kind of blends in with your lever action freaking B rifle. What the freaking heck? The Henry Big Boy Revolver in 357 Magnum. The Henry Big Boy Revolver in 357 Magnum. Slow that down, dude.